things about the two chapters of economics, and I'll tell you how you are going to cover it. Plus, I will share you the recordings as well. And after that, also, once you are done with recordings and all that, I will take one more class of yours for the doubt session. Okay, so no need to worry about it. Just focus on the present right now. Okay, and then we'll cover by taking extra classes. I'll just cover your previous thing. Okay, so now, as you can see, this is your next chapter, which is basically economic reform. Okay, so in economic reform, basically reform means that you need to convert the things again, reformation, again making it. So what happened earlier, in the first chapter, chapter number 1, we studied that India got independence, and at that time India was in very poor condition, right? We studied everything about India during the eve of independence. What was economic structure, what was the status of agriculture, all that we studied over there, right? Now coming to the second chapter, there we did, once India got independence, right? India started developing. So India adopted various planning commission, India adopted various reform, various, policies and all that. Okay. And at last, in second chapter, we'll study that people were not satisfied with that. They wanted reformation. They wanted new policies, right? So for chapter number 3, it is like economic reform since 1991. After 1991, there was a changes.
Teacher, the
And
second chapter finished of economics in this,
yeah, second
the eve
chapter
of
is,
independence.
yeah, second chapter is, first is eve of independence. Second chapter is, I think, uh this.
1950 to 1991.
Yeah, 90. Yeah. So over there, we studied that during that period, what India did in order to develop, because India got
Okay,
independence
so
in
the first chapter
1946.
finished in this tuition.
Yeah, first and second chapter we are done. But of course, I won't be leaving you people that, okay, I'm done, I won't be teaching. Of course, I'll be teaching you, right? So I will be
Because
taking
that
extra.
time me and Amos were there and you taught us the first chapter.
Okay,
No,
you
me
were
and
there.
Zaina were there. Yeah, but
Yes.
and then again we went into macro chapter.
Yes, so of course I'll be teaching, because at that moment, what happened, I was done with that, but as you people were new, only you people were there, so I started with that. But of course, I'll be taking extra class for you people, right? So that we can cover it in extra class, and side by side you will be, because if I'll be starting it by today, this first chapter, we won't be able to complete the syllabus, right? So extra classes for that, there you have to work a little bit harder, because I'll be taking extra class. So of course the classes plus extra classes. I hope you are fine with that, right?
Yeah, yes, teacher.
Yeah. So we'll be covering it in extra class. No need to worry, because of course first two chapters are very much important. It's not like I will leaving it, of course. But yeah, in order to complete the syllabus, we have to go with the flow. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So in this chapter, basically economic reform, we are going to study that after 1991, what were the reforms that we introduced. Okay. So first of all, now the question was, why, ma'am, economic reform was introduced? So economic reform was introduced because, no, because of various reasons. Like government was not able to generate revenues. Revenues means, see, from where government is getting money. Government is getting money from taxes, but because of the people were not paying taxes, and sometimes if they were paying, the revenue was too low and the expenditure was very much high, right? Government has to construct schools, government has to construct this roads, government has to construct hospitals. So revenue was very less, but expenditure was very more, right? Much more than the revenue. And plus, from the public sector itself, government was not getting enough money. Plus, India was at that condition that India, like nobody was ready to give loans to India, right? So what happened basically, at last India approached this World Bank and International, which is also known as International Monetary Fund and International Bank of Reconstruction and Development. But for example, if you came to me and you're like, ma'am, I want to study economics and I want to score well, so of course I'll be keeping some condition in front of you, that if you'll be regular in the class, you will complete your assignments timely, you'll do this and that, right? So that means that I am somewhere supporting you, but at the same time I'm demanding these things, that if you will follow these, if you will follow my rules, only then I will help you with your subject, right? So similarly, when India went to World Bank that we want money, so they said that, okay, we will be giving you $7 billion as a loan, but we are expecting that you will liberal. Earlier what was happening, everything was, most of the things was under control government sector. There were a lot of restriction in the private sector, like license, you need license in order to make construct the industry, in order to expand the industry, in order to produce any good, you need license from the government. So there was so much restriction, right? So they demanded that you will be removing restrictions. Plus, in India, what was that? Pranav, Pranav joined. Okay. Plus, in India, it was like that, ma'am, we want to do things in such a way that we are not happy, or we are like that most of the restrictions were there, and we will be, doing things within the country. We won't be taking anything from outside the country, right? So this was a restriction. But now, as when they went for taking loan, so they said that no need to do this. Just go and just liberal your things, just make globalization. Globalization means it's not like that you will be you will not be taking things from outside the country or something like that. Yes, you will be taking. Globalization is you will be taking, right? So they agreed. That government was like, Indian government was like, yes sir, yes sir, we'll be doing all your things, whatever you are telling us, we'll be following everything. Just kindly grant us loan. So they got the loan. So basically what happened, this is how new economic policies came. So it has two things. One is your stabilization measure, and next one is a structural reform policy. What is stabilization measure? Basically, it is short term. That first of all, see, Indian economy was very much disturbed. So it was very important to make it stable. That is a short term goal. Once the Indian economy is stable, now we are going to change the structure. Earlier, what was the structure? Most of the thing was controlled by private sector. There was a lot of restriction. So now you have to change the structural reform policy, which include liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So what is liberalization? Liberal means to make free. So earlier there was lot of restriction. If you want to make industry, construct industry, if you want to run industry, you have to do this, you have to take license, you have to take permission and all that. So now all the restrictions were removed. Privatization, most of the sector was under control of government. Now they demanded that you will be giving some sector to the private sector as well. Next, globalization. So ma'am, what is globalization? Earlier it was like we will be doing everything within the country, right? But now it decided we will be doing trade. We will be taking things from across the world, across the globe. So that's why it is globalization. Clear? I hope I have made myself clear for the gist of this topic. Jenna, Pranav, and Aditya, because Amos was there.
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
Yes?
ma'am.
Okay. Pranav? Pranav? Am I audible? Okay, I think some network issues. Yeah. So now we are going to start with the next topic, which is your liberalization. Like in this entire chapter, you are going to study liberalization, privatization, and globalization, and apart from that, GST and all that. So first, we'll start with liberalization. So very first thing is that, mom, what is liberalization? So liberalization means freeing the Indian business and industries from unnecessary control and restriction, right? And next, and open various sectors of the economy. So Amos was already done with this. So quickly, Pranav, Janab, and Aditya, you will be writing it, right? Just just leave one and half page. Okay, or you can say one page. Just leave one page. I think that's enough because only two questions were there. And after that, from next page itself, just do hashtag liberalization and write the definition. Okay, and from now onwards, we'll be studying everything.
The full liberalization. How to write them?
Yeah, just write hashtag liberalization and this definition. The liberalization means freeing the Indian business and industry from unnecessary control and restriction and open various sector of the economy.
Okay. Thank you.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, Aditya and Pranav done.
Yes, teacher.
Now, basically, what happened? During 1980s, there were few sector where this liberalization came, right? And after 1991, there were few sector where industrialization came. So earlier that licensing, export, import, technology, abrogation, fiscal policy, and foreign investment over there it came. And in 1991 onwards, they added few more sector like financial sector, tax reform, foreign exchange market, trade and investment sector. So this is basically a general that earlier there were only few sectors, but after 1991, because this chapter is all about 1991 economic reform since 1991. So before that, there were sector which were doing well and good, but after 91, we added more sector to make them liberal. Now, next thing is that Amos, we have to start from here, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
Jainab,
ma'am.
you were also there, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Now the first thing is that see. First, we are studying about here over liberalization. We are going to study about every sector, right? So first, we'll study about industrial sector, right? Over industrial sector, we will study two things. One, what was industrial sector before 1991? Like, what were the problems, right? And after that, what was the solution? Like, if there were problem and solution, right? History and what we did. Clear? So first of all, over liberalization, we are studying about industrial sector, right? So see, first we'll study prior reform. In 1991, reform came, but before that, what was the status, right? And after that, once we got to know that these were the problem before economic reform, then we'll study the suggestion, then we'll study the solutions. So prior to reform in India, regulatory machines were enforced in various ways. So prior to reform, what was the status of industrial sector? First, industrial licensing, under which very entrepreneur had to get permission from which every entrepreneur has to get in permission from government officials to start a firm, close a firm, or decide the amount of goods that could be produced. So first, what was the condition? That every industry, they have to take license, and everyone needs to take permission from the government to start a firm, right? To close a firm, or even if you want to decide that which good you are going to produce, in that case also you have to take permission from the government, right? So this was the condition. Second, private sector was not allowed in many industries, right? So as I told you, most of the sector were controlled by government sector, so private sector was not allowed in many industry. Next, some goods could be produced only in small scale industry. Right now, you must be wondering that, ma'am, what is small scale industry? So see, there are lots of people who cannot start a huge industry, right? So government decided that there will be some people who can invest like 1 crore. At that moment, what was the ratio like this? Right. So, for example, if you have little amount and if you are investing that amount to start your industry, and if that amount is less than 1 crore, then it will be some 5 crore, I think. It is known as small scale industry, and it was decided that for example, you have different let's just take clothing. You have shoes, you have trousers, you have shirt, right? So it was decided by government that shoes sector, like the shoes, only small scale industries are allowed to produce shoes, right? So over here, why it was right? Because see, if everyone will produce the same goods, people will be, of course, purchasing it from big industry, not from small scale industry, right? So some goods, this was the policy that some goods could be produced only in small scale industry, right? Next, control on price fixation and distribution of selected industrial product. The reform policy introduced in 90 removed many of this restriction. So over here, you will write till here that there was price fixation and distribution of selected industrial product. It was there, right? There was full control of government over price, that you have to sell in that is in this price or that. Plus industrial product, that okay, these are the industrial product which you will be producing. Clear? I hope I've made myself. I hope I've made myself clear that this was the condition of industry. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, of course, we are now going to study the measures like how we deregulated the industrial sector. So first, industrial licensing was abolished for almost all product except few product category, right? So first, the problem was that, ma'am, it was a licensing problem. We have to take permission every time we are going to do something. So, but there were few sector where licensing was not removed. Alcohol, cigarette, hazardous chemical, industrial explosive, electronics, aerospace and drugs, and pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals are basically the medical products, right? Pharmacy. Okay, so this was the thing. Next, the only industry which are now reserved for the public sector are a part of defense equipment, automatic engine generation, and railway transport. So in India, earlier 80% control was with the government sector, but right now there are only 2 or 3 industries that are under control of government sector, and other industry you have government sector as well as the private sector is allowed. In India, defense only government will be handling. There is no private organization for defense, military and all. Second, atomic energy generation. So if you want to generate any bomb or if you want to generate any atomic thing, that you cannot do it with the help of private sector, right? That comes also under government sector. Next, railways transport. So railway, like airway, you can say it's like both government and private, Indigo and all that. Most of the thing you can say private. But talking about railways, right? Railways are fully controlled about under government sector. There is no private railway transport or private railway. Clear?
Yes,
Yes,
teacher.
ma'am.
Next, many goods produced by small scale industry have now been de-reserved. Earlier it was reserved that shoes only small scale is going to produce, but now they are de-reserved. Next, in many industries, the market has been allowed to determine the price. Earlier, what was there? Price fixation was there, right? That okay, this is the price and you have to sell in this price. But now, market can determine the price. That okay, you are free, whatever at whatever price you want to sell the product, you are always free. Clear?
Yes, teacher. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you will write it down. First, you will write this. Just write deregulation of industrial sector. Just write first deregulation and write prior to reform. And first point, second point, third and fourth. And after that, measure of deregulation of industrial sector, this and all the points. So first write this, then I'll just scroll it down. I hope you are getting it right.
Yes, teacher.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, Pranav, you are also done. Think Pranav is facing some network issues, or maybe I'm not audible to him. Okay. Now we are going to start with the next sector, which is your financial sector. Okay. So, ma'am, what is financial sector? First of all, industrial sector, you were aware of it. Ma'am, what is industrial sector? Of course, where industries are constructed, right? So, financial sector. Financial sector includes financial institutions such as commercial bank, investment bank, stock exchange operation, and foreign exchange market. Okay, this is your financial sector. So all the offices, all the organization related to finance are they come under financial sector. Okay. Now the financial sector in India is regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. So you people already read this central bank and your this central bank and the commercial bank, right? So this financial sector is who is the head of the this financial sector? This central bank, and who is the central bank of India? Reserve Bank of India. Okay. Now what RBI do? RBI decide the cash reserve ratio, right? And SLR, right? Cash reserve ratio and SLR, and these are part of LRR, right? And bank rate, okay, etc. One of the major aim of financial sector reform is to reduce the role of RBI from regulator to the facilitator of financial sector. So now for financial sector reform. See, financial sector, what are the things? Everything was being controlled by the central bank, right? But now what is the aim? The aim is that to reduce the control of RBI, right? So that people can easily do financial transactions and all that. This means that the financial sector may be allowed to take decision only on matters without consulting the RBI. So what people are demanding? People are demanding that you should, you should at least reduce the role of RBI so that we people can, independently take decisions. However, certain managerial aspects have been retained with the RBI to safeguard the interest of the account holder and the nation. Clear? So the reform policy led to the establishment of private sector. Now basically, this is what. Like after the reform sector, so what you will do? See, financial sector you already know. So prior to this reform, what was the thing? This RBI decide the cash reserve ratio, the statutory equity ratio, bank rate, etc. Right? RBI was deciding everything, and financial sector who was controlling everything? Who was controlling everything? Tell me, who was controlling everything in the financial sector?
Ma'am, RBI.
Yes. Yes, so everything was being controlled by RBI. It's like written that the financial sector in India is being controlled or regulated by the reserve. So till here you will write it, right? That okay, that this was the condition before the prior to reforms, right? Now after the reforms, what happened? The reform policy led to the establishment of private sector bank, both Indian as well as the foreign bank. So earlier there was no foreign bank in India, right? Because of reform, it was like many private sector came into role, like private sector as well as the foreign bank established. Next, foreign investment limit in bank raised to around 50%. So earlier the investment, foreign investment, that foreign banks and all that, the investment was very less. But now if there are foreign banks, people will be investing a lot. So it was raised to around 50%. Next, those banks which fulfill certain conditions have been given freedom to set up new branches without the approval of RBI and rationalize their existing network branches. See, for example, there is a bank called SBI, State Bank of India, right? So it's like if it is in, there are various states of India. So if it is in Delhi, then people are deciding that it should be in Uttarakhand as well. It should be in Tamil Nadu. It should be in Kerala. So without the permission of RBI, you can do the things, right? You can set up new branches of that particular. If I am SBI, I can set up my branches, new branches, right? But for example, I want to start a new bank, then you have to take permission, right? But if I am already already a bank exists, now they want to open their branches, so without taking permission from RBI, they can do it. Next, bank have given permission to generate resource from India and abroad. So now banks are ready that whether you want to generate the revenue or the resource from India or from abroad, it's your choice. You can generate anything. Next, foreign institute investor FII such as merchant bankers, mutual fund, pension funds, are now allowed to invest in Indian financial sector, right? So basically, what is happening earlier? It was they were not allowed. The merchant bank, mutual funds, and all that. They were no like it was not a trend in India. But now everybody is investing in mutual fund, pension funds, merchant bankers, and all that. So because of reform, it happened. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first of all, you will write second financial sector reform, and then you will write financial sector, and then you will write prior to reform. So over here, see, cash reserve ratio, saturated liquid bank rate. This is a part of your banking chapter, right? So this you will be doing. No need to worry about it. Like I have already taught it. So of course, the portion we left, we'll be covering it in the extra classes. But now, for a hint, I just want to explain you. Cash reserve ratio is the fraction of deposit commercial bank must keep as a cash reserve with RBI. So, for example, if you are earning 100 rupees, right, and your mother told you that out of 100 rupees, you will be keeping 20% with me, like 20 rupees with me. So, that is a reserve. So, if you are keeping that reserve in form of cash, that is your cash reserve ratio. But if you are keeping it, with the RBI or with your mom in other form. For example, you bought a chain for 20 rupees, gold chain, and you are like, instead of 20 rupees, I'm giving you this gold chain. So she will accept it. But for cash reserve ratio, she is not going to accept. So this is basically you can say it's a part of LRR. It is basically compulsory for commercial bank to keep a reserve. If you are getting deposits from people, you have to keep something with the central bank. Similarly, what is bank rate? It is the interest at which commercial bank can borrow from RBI. So, for example, I am taking loan from central bank as a commercial bank. Commercial banks basically are the small banks, and central bank is the head. So, if I am going to take it, of course, I have to pay interest. So, this is the bank rate. So, everything is being decided by RBI. So, you will write prior, and then you will write this. Okay. So, instead of okay, wait. See, first, what you are going to do, you are going to write financial sector, then you are going to write the financial sector, then you will write prior, right? And then you will write this first point, and from here, second point. Clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Thus, it's clear what you have to write. You don't have to write this, okay?
Yeah, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, others, you are also done.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Now you will write this. What you are going to write, the heading you will be giving this. Measures of the industrial, oh, sorry, foreign, what is this? Financial sector, sorry. Or you can write economic reform in this financial sector.
Jane, ma'am.
Others, you are also done?
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Aditya, now?
And teacher.
Okay. Now, the third is tax reform. Okay. So, ma'am, first of all, what is tax reform, right? So, tax reform are concerned with the reform in government taxation and public expenditure policies, which are collectively known as fiscal policy. So, tax reform, see, government is going to collect the tax from you all, right? So, ma'am, what are tax reform? Tax reform are basically they are related to the government taxation and public expenditure policies, right? And sometimes we like this, these policies are known as fiscal policy. Policies related to public expenditure and taxations come under fiscal policy. Now, what were the tax reform, right? So earlier there was nothing in tax reform, nothing like that. But what happened, like after this reform introduced, first reduction in the taxes. Since 1991, there has been a continuous reduction in taxes on individual income, as it was felt that high rate of income tax were an important reason of tax evasion. Right? See, wait. Now the next term is, ma'am, what is tax evasion? So ma'am, what is tax evasion? Tax evasion is basically most of the people, for example, you have to pay tax and you are going to escape from that. You are not paying tax, right? So that is tax evasion, right? So basically, see, for example, if you have to pay very little amount of tax, you people will happily pay tax. But in order, for example, you are earning 100 rupees and you have to pay 50 rupees as a tax. You people will sometime try to escape from that. You people will avoid paying tax, right? So that's why reduction in taxes. So government decided that we should reduce the taxes, like the amount of tax people are paying. Why? Because if you want to, reduce the rate of income tax for evasion. Earlier, if 40 people were evading out of 100, now if you will reduce the tax, it will the rate of evasion it will also fall down. Now maybe 10 to 20 people will not pay tax, but others will pay tax because they you don't have to pay much high tax, right? Now, it is now widely accepted that moderate rate of income tax encourage savings and voluntary disclosure of an income. So now it decided that if you will reduce the tax, moderate rate, they basically what it do it see. For example, if I'm earning 100 rupees and out of 100 rupees I am paying 50 rupees as a tax, what I will save, what I will consume, right? But if I have to pay only 20 rupees as a tax, I will what I can do, I can do more saving. Like instead of paying tax, I can save that amount, right? Next, similarly, the rate of corporation tax, which was very high earlier, has been gradually restored. Now also, the corporation tax, like the corporate sector which are paying tax, that also reduce. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So first of all, you will write third tax reform, then the definition of tax reform, and then this make a dot reduction in taxes. Then first till here, from second here, and the third one here. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Quickly write it.
Done, ma'am.